Sipping and roasting, yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. And to misquote a certain song lyric, I am internationally known and I'm known to rock the microphone. But today it's
a Rob bass on me.
Today it's just a clip on the shirt mic. I don't know how easy it is to rock a clip on the shirt mic. You can't grip it in your hand and do that like the rapper.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure something out. But welcome to the show. It's show number 426. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We have a full house today. Is this some of those people we've ever had on?
It's a lot of people on the show.
It's a lot of people.
No, the show 100.
The show 100.
No, that's true. We had a lot of people on that show. And most of them were unable to remain sober by the end of the program. So it's good to know. Today is our 426th episode. And today we're going to be asking the question, is it politically correct to say nice ash? Because that's where we are. We're at Nice Ash, which is a wonderful cigar store and lounge in the Heights in Houston. And it's my first time to be here, and I love this place. I think it's their humidor, very well stocked with a lot of cool and interesting things. One of the ways I usually judge a humidor is by if I can go in and find things I haven't had before. Then I get really excited about it. And there were plenty of those.
They have some boutique brands here, things like that that I haven't
Great
seen.
large
Really
name,
nice.
Fuente, Padron, some of the standard, but a couple of boutiques like Rojas.
Speaking of boutique cigars, let's introduce our special guest, Mr. Albert Cisneros from Smoking
how's
Swan.
everybody
Albert,
doing?
welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We also have our sometime friend, sometimes pod crasher, although today he arrived with beer, so I told him, you're not the guy crashing the podcast. You're the guy that brought beer. But Mr. Alan Denny is with us. And then for the first time on our show, Houston radio personality and sort of a legend in H-Town, Grego.
Oh, thanks.
Grego, welcome.
Excuse me, I have to get this.
Yeah.
It's a legend. It's a whole legend thing. I didn't plan that.
That was so on time.
That's beautifully done.
Apparently your car warranty is about to expire.
Grego, of course, formerly of KLOL, the legendary rock station here in Houston. He's now with The Spot, where he is on 24 hours a day. And or just about tired, or just about. And of course, he was a part of one of my favorite indulgences that isn't on anymore, but Newsfix. I loved Newsfix. There was a TV show where you covered the headlines with a little bit of commentary, a little bit of snark, and then you always had your own commentary at the end.
Yes, that's
which
right.
I loved.
And by the way, look at the shirt I'm wearing today in honor of opening day for
That's
our
right.
restaurant.
Oh, very nice.
Love it.
Very nice.
Wow.
Now we are recording. This show will air on the 5th of April, but we're recording on Astros opening day.
Yeah, I just did that.
I see you got that on Facebook. So you got that one on when you were on 39?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's why it's got 39. I love it.
So Astros opening day being the day we're taping here, everyone at the table is kind of looking at me nervously like, this isn't going to take too long, is it? Because, opening day is a thing. But we have a lot of cool stuff to cover today, in addition to whether or not nice ash is okay to say in our current climate. Plus, we'll be doing a little bit of beer tasting from Dallas, Texas, and the Manhattan Project Beer Company. We'll be trying their blonde ale called Peacekeeper.
Nice.
Yeah, a Peacekeeper almost always refers to a bomb of some sort.
I remember seeing Manhattan Project, but I don't know if I've tried any of their beers.
Well, I've had several of them, and they've been good. I've not had the Peacekeeper, so we'll be trying that today. A brewery we've had on the program before from Brooklyn, New York, Other Half Brewing Company. We'll be trying their double dry hopped IPA called All Nectaron Everything, which I like just because of the name. It just sounds fun. And then finally, and I know
You mean there's a finally?
Yeah. Ian may have to bow out on this one because I don't think this will be to his taste. From New Image Brewing Company in Wheat Ridge, Colorado, we'll be trying something called Mizunara. It's a barley wine ale. So,
barley wines.
Yeah. So,
Why don't more people make barley wines? I would drink them floating down a river. Just put them in a can. I'll drink them. I don't care.
You are the barley wine man. From Jamaica, a Smith & Cross traditional Jamaica rum will be tasted on the program as well. So a lot of stuff to get to, a lot of stuff to talk about. We also want to talk about Albert and the cigars that he represents and what you're, always like whenever somebody represents more than one company, I always love to ask them, what's your favorite?
I like them all.
Yeah, put them on the spot. So, but we'll get to all of that. We'll talk a lot about cigars, including, by the way, if we have time to get to this, Cigar Journal has listed their best buy cigars of 2024, which kind of like us because we never get to these best of lists until very deep in the year. This one just came out. So
this is interesting because isn't the idea, not to interrupt you, but to like.
Well, by the way, Grego, since you haven't been on the show before, let me just tell you, please interrupt me because if you don't, you'll never get to
You'll
speak.
just stop talking, keep talking.
You're a radio personality. You know this. If there's dead air, you keep talking.
Well, you come into a situation. I think you might. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me, and nice to meet you, Ian and Albert and Alan. Again, and
Nice to meet you.
and Terry. I think we want to make that connection of how he and I know each other so very well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He was my intern at the rock station at KLOL when he was brand new. So our history goes way back. So
Yeah, and then we worked together at the spot after that. So after we had worked at KLOL for many years, I did the internship. We did all this stuff. He showed me how to run a clean board, so you could do it back when you had to put CDs and actual things into there. And so that's when I learned all
You're
that.
dating yourself.
Does this mean we're exactly.
Does this mean we're going to get stories about Terry?
Oh boy,
we
could tell some stories. There were some stories.
But the answer to your question, isn't it, as a cigar smoker, don't we look for those buys, those sticks that you don't have to spend a lot for, that are consistently
right in that price point
every time, and you can smoke
Goldilocks.
them and not feel like, oh man, I'm
Grego, you got to talk about the ones that
I
you
will.
found in Florida because he gave me one a couple of weeks ago, and it was a Salomon, which those are normally really expensive. When he told me the price, I was like, "Oh my god!" And
Well, those are more
fantastic.
expensive even than the same blend because they're harder to wrap. It takes a very specialized person to roll those.
What are we all smoking today?
I'm smoking the street tacos, carnitas from Rojas.
So I have a street tacos, but you did the
Connecticut.
Whereas this one is that a Maduro?
That's a Sumatra Maduro.
It's a Sumatra Maduro. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little spicier than your typical Maduro. So
A little pepper and spice.
yeah, I like it.
But it's
I
not
like it.
overpowering.
Yeah, no, it's I put it right in the medium medium range.
That's where it's at.
What about you? Is that what you're smoking as well?
No, I am smoking the unfinished business. So this one has the same wrapper as that one. The only difference is the guts, right? So this one has a San Andres wrapper as a binder, and then it has Nicaraguan fillers in it. So it gives you
that's going to be a little powerful.
a little bit medium plus in strength profile, but again, it's not overpowering or overwhelming.
Ian, what are you smoking?
I'm smoking the same thing he is because when he described it to me, I said, that sounds delicious.
Right up my alley. I agree. How about you, Grego? What do you
I need favors from several people at the table already.
Smoking that Oliva.
I think you got a favor from Terry's. Box.
I did. This is an Oliva. It's a Series.
It's the 135th.
135th.
And this one. What is the shape of that actually?
It's a perfecto, but it's kind of an interesting looking perfecto.
Yeah.
Because it's tapered at the bottom.
Yeah.
But it's still considered a perfecto.
Yeah. Maduro, I would consider it medium full. I think it tastes.
Those are excellent.
It is a
cigars. I love
wonderful
those.
cigar.
Great smoke.
Yeah. So we're all in pretty good shape here. Terry, what are you puffing on back there?
I've actually got one of the Stallones that I've got. The
those are great cigars.
yeah, Alizan, I think. Is
All
what
right,
it's
so
called.
we're all in pretty good place here, I think. and the beers haven't really even started yet. Speaking of Terry, do we have
Speak for
time for the
yourself.
beverage of mystery?
Yes.
All right. So since I don't have the clock to look at, I have to rely on Terry for time cues since we're on location. But let's do now a segment we like to call
The beverage of mystery.
My pause was to give them time
That was
to
good.
insert the intro in post.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big beverage of mystery.
I thought maybe after all these years, you finally just went.
just
Yeah. First time ever. I've had nothing to say.
he went Sid Barrett on us.
That was it.
So the beverage of mystery is something we do here on the show where one of us will bring a beverage of some sort in. Almost always an alcoholic beverage. Not always, but usually. Sometimes it's a seltzer. Sometimes it's a cider. Sometimes it's a beer. Sometimes it's a Malort.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not.
A lot
Yeah.
of times it's not.
Yeah, a
but we'll
lot
see
of
what
times
happens
it's not.
today. The only person who knows what the beverage of mystery is before we try it is the person what brung it. And today that would be me. And so I'm the only one who knows. But you guys do a little sniffing, do a little sipping, and tell me what you think.
It smells sweet.
I think it's going for raspberry.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
there's a
agree with
definite
that.
raspberry when you taste it.
I think it's going for raspberry. There's a little tartness to it.
Super carbonated.
Like, yeah.
Way.
I like that. I like that in these kind of things. So I want them to be carbonated to hide any of the
It's not
problems.
sickly sweet either.
It doesn't really have that aftertaste.
And
Maybe
it
a
doesn't
tiny,
have
tiny
that
bit.
terrible
Yeah.
aspartame
Well, that is
aftertaste.
not sweet. I thought it smelled sweet,
Yeah.
but it's not sweet.
Yeah, it's a lot less sweet
Yeah.
than it knows.
More tart on the palate.
Not as good as last week's, that's for sure.
Yeah. What was last week? I forgot.
Last week
Sweet
was
Justice.
Oh yes, you
Yeah.
liked that Sweet Justice, that THC beverage.
I
That
love
stayed
it.
with you for a while.
Yeah, man. Let's not talk about that.
Ian, do you have a question for me?
Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
I'm so happy to be here. Our beverage of mystery today is a Bozeman Bubble Huckleberry hard seltzer.
Huckleberries.
So it's Huckleberry
Huckleberry even.
rather than raspberry.
I was searching feverishly. My buddy works for one of these companies like this. I had it pegged for another brand. I can't think of what it is, but that's
This is
Close.
not the most offensive one we've tried. It's actually
No.
not bad.
No.
It's pretty
No.
It's not horrible.
I agree. I was trying to see where they were from, but the print's too small.
Yeah.
The thing that this has that a lot of seltzers fail at, in my opinion, is this does not have that horrible aftertaste that makes you want to go drink something else to
Yes.
wash it out. It's actually a pretty palatable hard seltzer.
So you mean that you don't have to drag your tongue through your...
Yes.
Yeah,
You have to go
Exactly.
You have to go shave your tongue in between
Right.
drinks.
It's like Albert's been on the show before. I mean,
This occurs to me like a big glass with ice in it,
yeah.
filled with this by the pool, would not be a bad refresher.
No, yeah.
You know, this also reminds me of... you like Topo Chico?
Sure,
Ever
I
drank
like Topo Chico,
It
yeah.
has something similar to it, maybe like to the blueberry Topo Chico, you know, that...
You know, not just Topo Chico, but there's the, what was the kind that Jarritos,
Jarritos.
we
Oh,
found
yes.
make very good versions of this stuff.
yes,
Their
yes.
orange one is excellent.
The orange Doritos taste like orange Doritos.
Yeah.
Except for it has alcohol.
the fruit punch tastes like fruit
Love
punch
it.
Doritos, except
Love
for
it.
alcohol.
Yeah.
I have to say that it sips nicely when you want something light. You know,
This
I-
is...
it's a little tart, not too sweet. Tastes
Right.
sort of maybe healthy. Is it healthy?
Well, it's healthier. It's healthier
Really?
than beers because of the calories, right?
Of course.
Is it
Yeah.
made from anything natural?
Well,
Is it made
Huckleberry.
from anything natural?
I'm not sure how natural Huckleberries are.
There's some water in it.
Yeah. So it's got that going for it. All right. We got to take a break. We will be back. We're smoking cigars and having a really good time so far at Nice Ash in Houston.
You know, I just
But that
wanted,
could turn.
can I just say, is this fun? Because Grego and I really have worked together for years, and I just wanted him to come on the show
Well,
to see
we're-
what
we're
I do
excited. This is
now.
great.
To see what we
It
do
ain't
now.
over yet.
This is
Yeah.
this is what we do.
We'll be with you guys for a while. So, all right, we'll be back in just a moment. Thank you for joining us for show number 426. This is Smoking and Toast. Welcome back, my friends. This is Smoking and Toasting, show number 426. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled
I love
cigars.
those things.
My name is Cruz. Ian Barry is my co-host, and we have a plethora of guests
I love that word.
this week. A veritable
Love that
plethora, actually. Albert Cisneros with Smoking Swan is with us. Alan Denny, our good friend, is back with us for the second week in a row. Yeah.
Not the first time it's happened.
True. And Grego is here, so we're excited to have another
Full House.
Yeah, another radio personality from the Houston market, and somebody who's a fan of all the things that we do on the show. Not of us doing them so much, but he's a fan of the cigars and the spirits here. So you got to love that. Going to introduce you to a new concept, or it was a new concept to me when I read about it this week, and I thought we should definitely talk about this on the show, because enjoying whiskey, especially good whiskey, it's like a journey. It can send you around the world. It can fill your shelves with bottles that tell a story, whether it's bourbon or Scotch or rye or Japanese or Canadian whiskey. And we've talked a lot about the art of the bottle kill on the show. In fact, Ian has been tasked with writing us a little blues song about called Bottle Kill Blues.
We don't have it yet, but it's not far away.
I don't think we'll kill a bottle today. Well, we might with this many people.
Wow.
But the whole point of the bottle kill is when you finally take the last drops out and you get to toss that bottle in the trash and go back to the store and buy another one. But sometimes you don't do the bottle kill and you've got a little bit left in each bottle, and you try. My wife is always trying to get me to make more room in the bar. Like, can you get rid of some of the stuff so we can? I'm like, sure, challenge accepted. But the new concept that I heard about, or that I read about rather, is the infinity bottle.
Oh yeah, the infinity bottle.
So you're familiar with this?
Yes.
So it's where you obviously take a bottle
is the thing.
and you pour the different.
So it's the thing we do with the extra leftovers at the
You
cups
have two
at the end of the show.
2 to 3 ounces left in your bottle.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start an infinity bottle. You can just start pouring. Or you can do this in a decanter or whatever, but it's probably a good idea to stick to the same styles. Like for instance, a rum infinity one versus a bourbon infinity one, or something, or whiskey in general. But yeah, I've had a few. As a matter of fact, Greg Doxakis has an infinity rum bottle that I've tried.
Oh, I bet it's interesting.
It's actually pretty good.
Well, as Terry brought up, we've had infinity cups here on the show, and they've been less than appetizing. But generally speaking, that's because we're pouring the beers and the spirits.
There's
and
beverage of mystery.
There's also this concept at the bar where you have the Matt Dillon. Right? That's where you take the bar mat and pour it into a glass and somebody drinks it.
Oh, okay.
I beat you to it.
That's a good one.
Just.
Oh man.
Love it.
In some states where it's legal, they do infinity bags as well, where people will take their leftover, granules of whatever's left, and their shake and put it, and they just,
We did.
And they shake it like a Polaroid picture.
We did an event one night, Chris Hart led, and it was a Isla peated Scotch night. And of course, everybody's drinking. It's like, oh, this is not good. And we just poured it into a dump bucket to start the next one. Mm-hmm. And at the very end of the event, love you, Chris. Chris took a big swig
of the dump bucket.
The
infinity bucket.
Yeah. And let's say Chris was not impressed with what had transpired.
Well, the author of this article, which was in Men's Journal, by the way, if you want to go and read it, said his infinity bottle is currently home to about 24 different whiskeys, including a 10-year Rip Van Winkle, High West Campfire, Old Elk, Jack Daniel's Single Barrel, Weller Special Reserve, Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond, Smoke Wagon, Maker's Mark Cask Strength, Tin Cup, and more.
The campfire killed it.
Yeah.
The campfire is going to set that where it's just, it's the same. It's like almost peated. It's real smoky.
Yeah.
And I think that would
it's going to smoke out everything, you think?
Interesting. Well, I guess it depends how much.
How much was in there.
Yeah,
True.
what was left and stuff. But
at the point when
it's an ever evolving taste too, because like every time you pour something in, it's going to change profile just a little bit.
At the point where you're pouring yourself the cocktail out of the infinity bottle, do you really care anymore?
Right. Once you've gotten to the point where you go, okay, I guess infinity bottles, man.
It's time.
It may not matter.
I'm going to the moon.
I know you didn't mention if you had any Fireball in there, but that would be...
Yeah.
That bottle's for business.
Yeah. I don't know if I would try that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I feel like I would want to opt out on that one.
yeah.
You won't know until you try it.
Well,
It might
what
be
about if you? What about if you go like through every, ashtray and try everybody else's cigar too? Is that something similar? I mean,
Is that wrong?
Well, you'd be taking the butts and
taking everybody's
then rolling
butt,
your own.
Yeah. Taking everybody's butt and just smoking out of everybody. Is that the same thing though? I mean,
You hear that about junkies, like they find almost
taking
done cigarettes on the ground.
It's taking a little bit of a dark turn. You could actually kind of curate it though. You could go, you know what? I have one for bourbon and just pour, pour like the dregs of your bourbon in there. And I say dregs, it's really not that bad if you're drinking decent bourbon.
Yeah.
You know.
What about the people that ask you to take a hit off of your cigar?
No, sir.
What about those people?
No.
If it's not my wife, you gotta go get
those
your
people
own.
must be stopped.
I hope my father-in-law's listening to that. He's 85 with COPD.
And he always wants to drag.
And he wants to drag off me. I go, yeah, go ahead.
Here, I'll give you one. I'll give you one,
You can
Pops.
have
Here.
your own cigar.
Well, unless we're blending a cigar, maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But just a random, no.
Nah.
Yeah.
We were sitting outside of.
No.
I just wanted to mention, by the way, this caution that we're observing about sampling other people's cigars, this does not at all exist in the cannabis community.
No.
They will pass those joints around
Puff,
like
pass,
everybody.
man.
Yeah. So I don't know what the difference
we were
is.
sitting
really,
outside of Reserve 101 one night. Me and you smoking a cigar. Were you there?
No, but you told me the next day.
These two ladies, and they're all dressed up for each other, all gussied up, come walking down the sidewalk. And one of them saddles up next to me, so I'm leaning on the rail there, saddles up next to me. She's like, "Can I try it?" I was like, "Try what?" She's like, "Your cigar." I was like, No.
I like to point out, by the way, it took us 426 episodes of this show to finally work in the phrase "gussied up." So
I'm working on cattywampus. I'll get that in there somewhere.
But you know, when he said it,
cattywampus.
I liked it. It felt good.
It matched, and I was there. It totally matched. The
I'm
moment.
from the country, y'all.
Yeah. And he likes it that way. We have to take another break. We'll be back, and the beer tasting's about to start. Coming up first, Manhattan Project Beer Company's Peacekeeper Blonde Ale. That's next. This is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show, again, is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian's going to pour some of that craft beer. While he does, though, during the break, Alan, you were talking about how much you're enjoying this. This is a Rojas 10-year?
Rojas 10th anniversary, and I will tell you, it's a little, it's not super premium
Right.
price-wise,
Right.
at $15 or $16, and for the show quality to value, I rated a 5
Wow.
for that price.
So when we talk about cigar price to quality on this show, it's a scale of 1 to 10, but a 5 means that you got what you paid for. So anytime a cigar rates a 6 or 7, that means it's really outperforming its price class, which, you know, with today's cigar prices can be a little difficult to do, especially with a $15 or $16 cigar.
Yeah.
I mean, but for it to pull a 5 is actually quite a compliment in cigar world. The cigars we rate higher than a 5 have a tendency to be inexpensive ones to begin with, and they actually, you know, work pretty well. We'll get to that list, by the way.
What's the blend on this, Albert, if you don't mind me?
That blend is actually, I hold that dear to me because I actually worked with Noel on that blend and the Cinco de Mayo that came out last year. So this one we're using the San Andres wrapper on the outside. We're using a little bit of broadleaf as a binder.
I love that.
And Nicaraguan fillers. So very complex, but it's not overpowering.
No, it's super balanced.
It's
super
totally different
balanced.
from what Noel's known for, right? But I mean, it's a great cigar. I was very ecstatic to be a part of it, you know.
That's cool. So when you say be a part of it, did you get to go through some of the tasting process?
Oh
when it
man,
was
we
being
were
blended?
down there. Yeah, we were down there November of 2023, and we went through the whole process, you know, from walking the factory to picking out bales of tobacco and smoking individual leaves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a great experience for me.
You know, doing Smoking and Toasting is really fun. Would you consider just swapping jobs with?
I would in a heartbeat, you know.
There's no pay for this job.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's hardly any pay for this job too, so I don't know. I mean,
What job? When you're loving what you do,
That's
man,
right.
it is
That's
not
right,
work.
yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I've said this before, and I will say it again. I'm still really pissed at my high school guidance counselor. I had no idea that jobs where you got to go help in the blending of tobacco existed. Do you know how much more attention
You
I
would
would have
figure
paid in
once
science?
I told her what I was good at, she would have thought like maybe this is a good idea for you.
Although it is not necessarily recommended when you're a high school student and your guidance counselor says, well, what are your interests? Not really a good thing to say, well, I like to drink.
I like beer and cigars.
Albert, what other brands, you represent Rojas, and that's what most of us are smoking here. What other brands do you represent with Smoking Swan?
I also represent Stolen Throne, which is made at the Rojas factory. As a matter of fact, they use Rojas tobacco, but if you were to smoke a Rojas cigar and a Stolen Throne cigar, the tastes are so different, just totally different. And it's the same tobacco, maybe a couple of leaves of difference here and there. But I also represent Adventura, which is a Dominican company. I represent HVC, another Nicaraguan company.
I'm very familiar with the HVCs. Those hotcakes are great.
Yeah, hotcakes is good. The 500th anniversary is good. Let me see, how many more do I have? So Rojas, Adventura, Stolen Throne.
Is it Leaf by Oscar also?
Leaf by Oscar, but not in the state of Texas. It's,
okay.
It's kind of weird.
Some things are divided up.
Yeah, so it's kind of divided. I carried it everywhere else. But except for Texas.
But you guys, that Oscar has a different rep in Texas that covers specifically.
Correct.
That.
Yes. So I think he only does Texas.
I love the Oscar stuff too.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Those are
Big
great
fan.
cigars.
Are you doing Leaf and Oscar stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Oscar owns Leaf now. So I do both. And, I was just there not that long ago. At the beginning of this month, we took a trip down there. And that was an experience for me. When you have somebody that does 7 million cigars a year, it's unbelievable. And a true rags to riches kind of story. He was Rocky Patel's bus driver for 9 years.
Wow.
So, man.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Oscar's in everything. He does distribution of rum for some companies.
I love this guy.
And he also does, get this, he also does coffee. So it was inherited to him by his great-grandfather. And they gave it to him, and his great-grandfather in the will says, you cannot sell this company. You have to keep it. And whoever comes in after you, your son or your daughter, they can't sell it. They have to keep it.
Stays family.
Yes, it stays in the family, which I thought, I was like, you know what, this is great.
I will just mention that the last time we had a rep on who does, like yourself, who represents multiple brands, is kind of a independent rep. Last time we had one of those reps on, he invited us down to Honduras to go to one of his factories that he works
Tom
with.
Polar is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We can go to Noel's place down in Nicaragua.
Okay.
So it doesn't take much.
By the way, we can go back and pull this audio.
Oh yeah, for
that you
proof.
said it.
Yes, yeah.
So,
And I want to be on that plane, man.
I even got you on camera.
That's
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
all right, we're good.
we can go down to Nicaragua and we can do like a little blending sesh, man. I mean,
Okay.
we can nerd out as much as we want.
All
you
right.
know?
Now I'm not so mad at my high school guidance counselor. Ian has poured us a beer. This is from the Manhattan Project Beer Company out of Dallas. This is their blonde ale. So you're from Dallas, so
I'm from
you're
Dallas.
familiar with these guys?
I'm not familiar with them.
Okay. Well, they are. They've got a pretty extensive line of a core line of beers because I see them all the time at my nehborhood specs.
Oh.
And so I thought, well, we got to try their blonde ale. So, Ian, have you given this any research?
I have been researching this while you were jabberjawing over there.
Yes.
It's fruity.
It has almost like a peach
It's fruity.
vibe to it.
It's funny because on the can it says pairs well with peach.
Wow.
It also says you get guava and stone fruit,
Okay.
which
I
I
won't
can
dispute
go with
that.
that. It's interesting because it's a blonde ale, but it's got a little fruit in the background. This is kind of nice. It's kind of summery.
Very palatable and very summery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see this being pretty crushable, like at a pool party, or as you like to say, floating down the river.
How about this? The first beer at brunch on a Sunday
Oh, yeah.
with eggs. You know what I mean?
Because
It's very clean.
It's got some of that sort of Bellini vibe. to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's very clean in the palate.
Yeah, it finishes so crisp and so dry. It's so nice.
It leaves a little
Just-
of that peach or apricot or something in there. I like that.
But that peach, it's like right next to the peach pit. It's
Yes,
not.
it's got a
It's not
tiny
the
bit of
meaty
that
part of the peach.
astringent-
It's right, yeah, it's right next to the pit. It's really
astringent
nice.
C. English is my first
I'm
language.
for it.
So, yeah,
I are English.
yeah. I heart English.
Yes, I are English.
That's good. No, I like this. I will be buying more of this. This is a fun
It
discovery.
rates really high on their easy scale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, is that like the easy button from
I guess it
Office
just has
Snacks or
it
whatever?
has an easy scale, and then it has a bar that's mostly filled through.
What is it, like 5.2, 5.4?
It comes in at 5.2. That's right.
5.2.
So that's not super. I mean, it's kind of in between. I guess a heavier, but I wouldn't have.
I would
pegged it
not
for
be
that much.
unhappy with a 6-pack of this. I would be fine with it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think my wife would like this too,
Yeah, I'll be picking up more of this. So
and she usually likes darker beers.
she likes what
Darker beers.
Yes. All right. Well, speaking of darker beers, we'll be getting to that later on in the show. Now we'll have a double dry hopped IPA from Other Half Brewing Company called All Nectaron Everything. So I'm wondering if there may be some fruit flavors involved in
Right.
that one. And then from New Image Brewing Company, their Barleywine ale called Mizunara, which I believe references a particular kind of wood in the barrels that they age it in, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
We'll try to figure that. It sounds like it's maybe a Japanese oak of some kind. Because Japanese oak is becoming quite a thing for
Yes,
aging
yes.
Beers and spirits.
And I think I've seen that word on whiskey, on Japanese whiskey too.
So I'll point out that Ian, who usually brings the very respected and fine instrument called the ukulele to the show to play for us, did not bring the ukulele this week. I think you left it at home accidentally. So
I forgot it.
I said to him, well, you're going to have to do the Drinking News theme song a cappella, at which point he immediately went back out to his truck and came in with an electric guitar. So
Because that's how I roll.
so we do Drinking News in the second hour of the show. It's where we bring you a story from the news that may possibly be about drinking. Not always, but it is always a story that's best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And we like to give you a teaser headline for it. So today's Drinking News teaser headline is... Now, those of you listening to the show heard that. We didn't. All we heard was some rustling string.
Hold on. I'll do
It sounded
quick so
good,
you guys
though.
can hear me.
Okay.
Here we go.
There we go. Drinking News teaser headline is... are you finished in there? So we'll get to that coming up in the second hour of the show. Can you believe you brought your guitar in for that?
Yes. Be a musician, they said. You'll make tens of dollars.
That's right. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, I got to tell you, Terry, I'm sorry, without a clock, how much time we have left?
Oh,
on the
no,
segment?
we're good on this one because this is segment 3, so we still got another 4 minutes.
Oh, another 4 minutes. Well, we
Stuck
could
with us.
we
Yeah.
could destroy something in the
Yeah.
in that time. Speaking of destroy, I will tell you about some really bad beer news. The state of Oregon, which is home to some of the most interesting and creative craft breweries I know. I mean, when you think of, we talked about beer cities last week, and Portland, was on the list because Portland is such a bevy of craft brewing. Well, the state of Oregon is apparently not happy with the fact that they're known as such a great beer destination. So they're proposing an 8% tax on beer, wine, and alcohol.
What?
Yeah, seems like everything's getting taxed or tariffed these days. It's like there's some like outside force of the universe that's just trying to make it more expensive for us to enjoy the things that we want to
You know how
enjoy.
snarky the song "Taxman" is from the Beatles?
Yeah.
It's really kind of true though.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like people have figured out a way to get into your business, no matter how.
Right.
That will shut you down somehow.
Well, they're going to tax what's going into your business. They're going to tax what's coming out of your business. They're going to tax what you do while you're doing your business.
It's always seemed
And
to
I
me.
meant that.
Yeah.
You meant that the way you heard
The way
it.
it sounded.
The way it
Yeah.
sounded. It always seemed to me, though, I mean, if you're a politician, and we don't do a lot of politics on the show, but if you're a politician and one of your things is, okay, when I get into office, I'm going to raise taxes to help bring more money into the government. That's generally a good way to not ever get elected again, right? So what they do is they slap taxes on sin items.
Yeah.
So it's tobacco,
Sin
it's
Sin tax.
spirits.
Could it
it's-
be?
Yeah, they're coming for your tattoos
Yeah.
next. Some of them.
Yeah. I took one look at Grego's arm tattoos and I thought, Satan. But seriously, like it just seems like that's easy for them, right? Because the only people who are going to object are the sinners, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So,
Well,
but I think the sinners need to start getting loud. That's what I think.
How did the 1-2 things we said we weren't going to talk about politics and religion,
Yeah.
and we dropped them both on one story?
Because it's an 8% tax on beer, wine, and alcohol.
Okay, how about this? I got a good beer story.
Okay.
Here's a good beer story. There's a guy in England, and he's a scientist, nerd, whatever, figured out a way to make a self-chilling beer can.
Oh.
There's a button on the bottom of the can that you activate and push, and there's a naturally occurring something in it that reacts with water. And when it's released, the chilling effect happens. You open it, it takes approximately 10 minutes, I say downside, to chill to 43 degrees and stay that way for 45 minutes.
Now, see, I like my beer cold, but I got to say, the British are onto something here. We've tried, being innovative here in America, and so far the best we've been able to do is the mountains turn blue.
The cold activated.
Yeah.
Which really translates into an early warning system because, boy, when the mountains aren't blue, don't go there.
Beer's not good anymore. So has this been released, or they actually?
No, it's a prototype. And they're talking to major beverage companies. Coca-Cola is one of them,
I'm sure
and some of the major
is
beer
all about
companies.
that.
Yeah, sure. Well,
This will be another excuse for major beer to sell their packaging instead of their product again.
well, we all know what a big success the Vortex neck
The
bottle
Vortex
was.
bottle is the
yeah.
short neck, fluted bottle neck that helps that go down much smoother.
And the thing is, it didn't even work.
Faster.
Like I bought one and poured it, and it's supposed to swirl through the vortex and come out, and it helps release the flavor or whatever.
So
it didn't
first off,
swirl,
it's
it
not
just
enough
pours.
of a bottleneck to do that.
Right.
And then second off, for it to actually do that, you would have to fill the whole neck of the bottle with it. So you'd have to dump your beer in this way.
Right. And have it swirl on way out.
Yeah,
which
That's a
isn't
good
gonna work.
point. Right.
It isn't going
To work properly.
So yeah, because it doesn't work off of skimming down one side of it.
Well, hail to the Brits, and we support this, and soon you'll be able to get it on any beer you want, as long as it's one of the mega beers by the big corporation.
You know what's going to happen? It's a packaging issue. They're going to have to plastic wrap these cans, because people would be activating these damn things.
Going to the store.
Yeah, picking them up. And you'll take your beer home, and it'll be flat and warm, and you suck.
All right. So they have some kinks to work out in this.
That's right.
All right. We got to take a break, and we will be back. There's more beer tasting. I believe it's fairly cold, and we'll enjoy it next.
Very tasty.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're on location today at Nice Ash in Houston, Texas. We haven't said too much about it, but this is a very awesome, comfortable. I see they've got lockers and the other stuff that you associate.
This is one of the
with
most
other places.
beautiful shops in
It really
Houston.
is.
I mean, I was talking to the young lady up front. They've only been open 2 years.
Yeah, I think about
Yeah,
to
they got a
celebrate.
great lounge up front for anybody to walk
Yeah.
into.
The private lounge back here is nice.
Dude, the dog area.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah,
your
they have a
pup.
dog area outside.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
And Grego happens to be a little dog friendly. If you've seen some of his
Yeah.
Facebook
My dog
stuff.
comes everywhere
A
with me.
shout out to John and Colin. Those are the owners of the shop. So, and David, he's the manager here. So
They've done a very nice job. I really, really like this, and I will be back just to sit and smoke
Well,
cigars.
it's funny, the first time when y'all were talking about having Grego on here and at the shop, you didn't mention the name, and they said the cigar shop up in the Heights. This is not the one I was thinking of.
Oh,
right.
And I'm so glad it is. This is
Well, we're having a good time here, and thanks to our guests, to Grego and to Albert Cisneros. And by the way, big thanks to last week's special guest, Trey Andrews with EP Carrillo Cigars, and Doug Messinger from Messinger.
They were
from
fun.
Final Draft Social Club.
Absolutely.
We had a great time down there as well. That was big fun. So, so we're about to try this next beer. This is an IPA, a double dry hopped IPA, which I've been an IPA fan for a long time. But lately, my favorites seem to be the double dry hopped. I really like what that does for the flavoring and the sort of smoothness. The double dry hops seem to do a better job of losing the overly hopped sort of resinous
The bitterness really
that you get with some of them.
over
Smooth-
citrus.
Yeah, smooths them out. So this one is from Other Half, which is a great brewery out of Brooklyn, New York. And this is called All Nectaron Everything.
So this is a hazy imperial IPA highlighting a single hop variety, Nectaron. Notes of pineapple, peach, and passion fruit are what they're telling you on this.
It's delicious.
Very juicy. Very juicy.
It sounds like
Well balanced.
I don't know, maybe you have, but have you ever had Spaceball?
Oh, yes.
That's what this sounds like.
Is this Texas available? Or
It
is
is.
this one of the? So
I
this
believe it is. Brooklyn. I know
Oh,
that Brooklyn Beer Company and several other Brooklyn breweries are available in Texas, so I assume this one is as well.
That is outrageously good.
I
really
want
is.
to issue a warning.
Yeah.
You will drink 3 of these and not know what hit you.
These are 8.5%.
8.5. Okay.
These are going to go down
This
easy.
is venturing into Ian territory.
Pretty
true.
big.
And I will just mention, as a cigar smoker, and IPA is probably my personal favorite style of beer. I love all different ones, but I'm just an IPA fan. But there are a number of IPAs that I really like that I just don't have when I'm having a cigar, because the bitterness of the hops really fights the cigar. This is not that way at all. It works really, really well with the cigar.
No,
there.
it
So-
leaves such a fruity note. It leaves a fruity note, almost like, the little gummy fruit things that you get, the little Welch's gummy fruits. It leaves almost that kind of aftertaste in your mouth.
Now, see, I've had some
So
gummies with a
fruity.
sort of a different aftertaste.
Those are different gummies. Those are the gummies with a little bit of pine and maybe a little bit of a
Yes.
stripey animal taste on
sort of
that.
sap yeah.
Fruit stripe gum?
Did you say animal
I
taste?
said stripey animal taste.
Stripey animal taste.
I want to say y'all are using trickery because this is 2 weeks in a row I've liked the IPA.
Yeah, see?
And I'm not
Man,
either my palate's
here's the
changing
thing.
or something.
IPAs
'cause-
are not what I generally reach for. I will always look for something much maltier, but you get a balanced IPA like this that is just front to back so good. It's not hop aggressive.
Right.
Mm.
And
It doesn't
honestly,
leave you feeling like you got pine cones stuck in your teeth.
the
Exactly.
finish is nice and clean and
Mhm.
fruity, not resinous or piney. And it's
That's
this
a
is
really
terrific.
good IPA.
And it
Yeah,
pairs well
they
with
hit
the
it out of the park
It
with
does.
this one, I think.
Yeah,
That was great.
Absolutely. Well, loving that. How about that? We got an IPA it's an IPA for the whole family. We can all agree on.
It's not just for breakfast anymore.
That's right.
No,
Although
that's juicy enough
I
though.
was going to say I could have this with pancakes and sausage.
Absolutely.
Hey, don't knock it until you tried it.
All about it. All about it. Well, this is really interesting. I find myself thinking, I wonder if I can find, a 4-pack or a 6-pack of these on the way home.
That's why I just asked.
This
Yeah.
is just fantastic. Other Half Brewery. Again, we've had some of their other beers. We've had a lot of their bigger beers, like their stouts and other things, on the show, and they've all been quite good too. So you can just about count on those guys, I think, to be pretty consistent. It's like, and there's a few breweries I feel that way about, in our neck of the woods here in Texas. I mean, I don't know that I've had a St. Arnold beer that I didn't think was good to great.
Yeah.
And I could say the same thing about
And it's
another-
funny. I
another
don't drink a lot of St. Arnold being the big one here in Houston. I don't drink a lot of St. Arnold core brand beers.
You love their
I
specialty.
love all of their seasonals.
Yeah.
I wait every
Springbok
and the nice
is
thing
out,
because I love all the seasonals. By the time one seasonal's done, I'm excited about the next one. Now
Right.
Summer Pilsner is out. It's
Yeah.
great.
That is my favorite Pilsner they do.
That's
actually.
good.
It's
It's
Summer Pilsner.
excellent and just the right mix between lighter and heavier.
Yeah,
And it's sparkly and it's crisp. But I'm going to risk my man card and say my favorite is the watermelon cider. That was so good. Did you try it?
Can we get Outlaw Dave on?
I could probably arrange that. In fact, I was going to ask him to come on this show just because I know
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
have such a love there.
I know.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
So,
I recently spoke to him, and it was nice to catch up. But Yeah, that would have been fun. Yeah.
In any event, if you're an IPA fan, try this. If you're not an IPA fan,
It's delicious.
Try it anyway.
Try it anyway.
yeah, it is
Really
it is
good.
Most definitely worth it. All right, more beer to come. We'll do a barley wine in the second hour, and plus we're going to try some rum, some traditional Jamaica rum from Smith and Cross, and I've not had Smith and Cross.
Either.
I've never even heard of that.
This will be a new experience. So we'll have that. We have drinking news coming up, and we're still going to talk about these budget cigars or these value cigars. Best Buy cigars is what they call them in cigar
Buy.
drinking, and we'll get to that. Yeah, I didn't know Best Buy sold cigars. But I got a $5 coupon.
Best Buy tried to be a music store for a while too. That was bizarre.
We'll be right back. It's Smoking Toastin'.
All right, good deal.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toastin', and this is our program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're going to move into spirits in this segment. But I just wanted to mention, we're here at Nice Ash.
Hold on. I don't want trouble.
And I feel
They
like,
just have those on the table.
yeah, sitting right here on the table, which is a wonderful thing to have. Oh, the lights just went down.
Oh.
I like that.
That's all right.
You have to adjust
Still
the
looks.
cameras.
It still looks fine. No, it still
be
looks
honest.
fine.
Well, it'll make this show up better, actually.
Yeah, here we go. Do
because
that.
This is the torch for lighting cigars they have on the table. Everyone stand back. I don't know how big this gets.
Oh
Wow.
boy, you can
Look at
see
that.
it right away.
Yeah. So if you're
It's almost
watching
like
the
a
video
lightsaber.
version of the
Yeah.
show,
But it's funny. They've got that on the table, but the one of the companies Albert didn't mention that he reps
Yeah.
for is Wiesel.
Mm.
And you talk about two of the greatest guys in this industry, Kane and G,
Yes.
who I've known since right after they started the company. I met him at Renegade with Brandon.
Yes.
They actually came in and gave, it was rep morning,
Yeah.
and they came in and gave all the reps a bunch of lighters, and it was the 3-torch that became part of their kit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but now, this little jammy, right? We talked about this on the
Okay,
show.
yeah.
That's got Grego. Check
Alan
this out.
and Ian both have
Yeah.
this Wiesel lighter.
Ian was
and it
nice enough
basically
to-
it's like the Swiss Army knife of
Wow.
cigar lighters.
Oh, I love it. And it
Yeah.
feels.
Does
like
it hold a lot?
Yes.
Feel
It
the
holds a
quality
lot.
of that. When
Yeah.
you pick it up, it's like, what the heck?
It's
I'm
a
going to have
big
to
tent.
carry a fanny pack.
Yeah.
For this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not something you carry around with you every day.
But check it out. It has a V cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, how nice.
It
A
has a
V-cut.
straight cut
Yep.
that I have a little stuff left in there from. It has a
Cigar
poker in
poker.
case your cigar's a little. And it has two
Cigar.
sizes of a punch.
Puncher. And a
Yeah.
cigar rest on top.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you can set it down.
Set your cigar
And your
right
cigar
in.
can sit right here.
Yes.
I love that.
Very cool. It does it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think it
that's
makes
good.
julienne fries.
And my understanding, I don't have this lighter, but my understanding is that it lasts a long enough time that it doesn't become calibrified,
Right.
Correct.
which is when your Calibre lighter, which is usually beautiful and like almost like a work of art,
Oh yeah. Until you
just
use it.
stops working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Wiesel makes
for them, I was going to say they didn't reinvent the wheel. They just took whatever was in the market already, which back then there was another company, and their policy is great. I mean, if they can't fix it, they'll replace it for you. You know,
I
mean,
love that.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. You know, and they encourage you to kind of, use the lighter, use the cutters to the max, to the fullest, right? Because they want to know that their product is working. If you use it a couple of times and it breaks, then they'll go back to the manufacturer and say, hey, man, this isn't working. We need to do something different.
And they're cigar guys. G's got a shop up in
They got two
Denton.
shops
Oh,
now.
2 now?
They have two.
Where's the other one? Another
One in
one?
Denton and then the other one in Louisville.
Okay. And they're cigar guys.
So, the last I had a fistful of Calibre lighters that all had died,
Fistful.
and
And if you saw this man's hands,
I do have slightly Mickey Mouse.
99 lighters on the dresser. Yes, sir.
That's one thing. So I called Calibre because I wanted to, send them in, get them fixed, something, because Calibre was famous for that, right? And the first thing the lady asked me, she goes, well, have you ever used anything other than Calibre fluid in it? I said, does that void the warranty? And she goes, well, yes. I said, then I will just throw these in the garbage. I'm not going to deal with you again.
Yeah.
And I literally did that. I was done.
See,
Because you're going to come to me with that. That's what's going to void the warranty. You're out of your mind.
Customer service too.
Yeah.
Well, Diesel actually carries butane.
Yes, they
And
do.
it's the best butane I've ever
It's
used.
what I use now all the time
Yeah.
for
yep,
everything.
I do as well. I love it.
So I noticed when I got this bottle of rum here from
Right,
you,
which I brought in.
that you had very carefully cleared the plastic off the top of this. So
Yes.
there's no way that I could get a plastic cut.
That's
This is
correct.
important stuff, OSHA stuff, Grego.
And then I noticed you also cleared the neck of the bottle for me.
Right, to help avoid spillage.
To make sure, and I still had a little bit, but it was very minimal compared to what it would have been. Like it could have been a Valdez kind of disaster.
Safety first.
The folks here at Nice Ash were kind enough to allow us to come here and do the show. And I didn't want to subject them to any OSHA violations.
Well, I sure appreciate that. I just wanted to point out that you had taken care to do that. And as the boss of the company, I can understand you don't want to have any claims and
Sure,
stuff
absolutely.
like that. If
you
I
want
get
to avoid that?
or
Yeah, if you got a cut or something, you'd have to claim that workers'
Yeah.
comp.
Could you imagine Pat gets the insurance? What is this?
Just say Ian cut his finger on a piece of plastic?
For the first
Ian got a boo-boo.
for the first 10 years of the company, our CFO was actually my father, who was a retired banker. So I was, 7, 8, 9 years into owning my own company, and my dad was still asking me, "What was this you spent here?" You know?
Yeah. Teenager all over again.
Yeah, exactly. So Ian has
And I had to
poured.
charge the company for Snoopy Band-Aids.
Yeah, that's right. Ian has poured us some Smith & Cross traditional Jamaica rum, and I will say
So
right off
first
the
off,
bat.
it's got a little funky on the nose. And I love that.
I love
Jamaican rum, generally speaking,
Is
is the funkiest of all rums.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's part of the whole spirit of Jamaica.
Oh, it's that rubber tire kind
Yeah,
of.
right.
Yeah, I
It
love
has
it.
has a little bit of that.
that
rubbery
is
funk.
not a bad. Oh my gosh.
It's not to everyone's taste, but rum lovers have a tendency to like it.
But doesn't that go good with a cigar, though?
Yes, it
like
does,
even better?
absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's good.
Mhm.
It's
This-
almost on the order.
Look how
It's like of a mezcal.
look how
in a different.
crazy
Yes.
oily this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
does
next to
have
the
a little of
glass.
that mezcal
It
smokiness
does.
to it.
I
doesn't
get
it?
It's
that.
got a little mezcal taste to that.
I get that
Ooh,
smokiness.
the cinnamon
smokiness,
back
too.
in,
That's good. Good call.
Definitely
good.
some cinnamon. It's got a little more of a bite like a whiskey.
We're gonna try a chip of ice in it.
Ian, does it say on the bottle what the ABV is? Is this
It's pretty big from the 57% by volume.
okay? That's a little
It's coming in pretty big.
little elevated.
Traditional Jamaican rum. Smith & Cross Jamaica rum contains only Wedderburn and Plummer pot still distillates, famous for their notes of exotic fruits and spice.
And now I'm going to blow your mind. $29 a bottle.
Get out of here.
Oh.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
finish
No
is
way.
nice and
Yeah.
slow. It's
Yes.
Love it.
Oh, so
Yeah.
we call
slow.
that the whiskey hug, or in this case, the rum hug, where it comes.
Now, I added a
Back
chip
and
of
gives you
ice
a
to
nice
mine. I
little
was super
embrace.
curious to see how it reacts to that.
I bet it will take it well because it's got enough heft to it.
Where did you get
to
ice?
Smooth it out.
Out of my cooler.
Oh, okay.
That was fresh ice.
I was like, you just found ice.
Well, I was
somewhere.
looking to butt my cigar and I didn't know, and so I.
It's got a little ashy.
Were you not there for the last week's drinking news where the guys peed in the hot pot? Well,
Oh man!
I will say though,
So it's
Nice ash.
incredibly
Yeah.
interesting. Like just the nose. Look, smell this. Smell how much the nose has changed just with a chip of ice.
Oh yeah!
It's almost got a
So it opened
Oh,
it
it
up.
brightened. It got bigger.
butterier.
It
Oh,
released
yeah.
the
It is
aroma.
butterier.
buttery is a good way
That
to
would
put
be
it.
my
Also
guess.
a little more cookie, a little more like almost brownie style cookie.
Oh, I like this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't use, with whiskey, I very often will use a small piece of ice. I don't normally do that with rum, but that seems
Yeah,
like maybe it's a
I'm
good
loving
idea.
it more and more now.
Oh,
And I liked
maybe-
it to begin with.
All right,
maybe
you got me. I'll try.
Maybe you should
Each one.
pass some of that ice over
yeah,
here.
let's just see.
Let's just scoop some.
yeah, here.
We'll get everybody some.
Fake ice.
Yeah, I have fake ice in my. It doesn't. It works well for cooling, not so well for adding to your drink.
yeah,
That
exactly.
way everyone's not
recommended.
subjected to my
Yeah,
hands.
just a cube.
As Ian is fond of telling us, his particular favorite cocktail is a 2-ingredient cocktail. He takes the spirit and pours it in a cup or a glass, and then adds a piece of ice.
Yes,
That's the
that's the
2-ingredient
cocktail.
cocktail.
Well,
By the way,
That's sorry to interrupt, but that's changed even the smell of it too.
yes, it
Yeah,
does.
Time.
Oh yeah, it smells gentler, butterier.
Ian, could you pass that bottle over? There's too much ice in my rum.
We can do that.
I seem to have the exact same problem.
Yeah. My problem is that apparently there's a hole in my cup. Because
The problem is this rum has evaporative,
Yes.
highly evaporative
It's a defective cup. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'll tell you,
tendencies.
at about $28 to $30, depending on where you buy this,
Great.
it's a find. I think
That's really good.
Yeah, and I will also mention this is, my favorite rums have a tendency to be the ones that have the big vanilla and maple, and those are the ones I like the best. But this rum, I would say, would be really good for anybody who's more of a whiskey person, but wants to add a rum to their bar.
This has got a little bit of heat to it, which I really enjoy.
Interesting, reading the bottle. Yes, distilled in Jamaica, produced in the United Kingdom.
Yes, because Smith & Cross, I believe, is a UK company.
Huh.
Yeah.
So the barrels are shipped over and it's bottled. And most rums typically are not a single
They're not a single
Yeah, they're not a
distillate.
single
Yeah.
distillate. 99 times out of 100, they're mixed with something else, usually several rums.
When I brought this in, I thought this is almost full. I doubt we'll kill this bottle. I'm starting to think I was mistaken.
It is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
There's a line of guests from the shop here that are lined up.
Yeah, this is great. We actually have a little bit of an audience today.
Yeah,
Yes.
it makes it a lot of fun. So I would just mention, though, that rums...
Yeah, I just started pouring them in, by the way.
Yeah, that's
Might as
rums
well.
traditionally have become more expensive, although you can still find some of the plantains like the Isle of Fiji and the pineapple rum,
Which
both
is
of which are
outrageously
fantastically good, are still relatively inexpensive. But it's not unusual to find a rum, particularly one with a little more aging to it. And those bottles starting to get up into the 60 plus,
Well,
and even more.
the one that
It's unusual.
He's inspired some.
Not unusual to drink rum with you.
not unusual for rum to get to be about 60 or 80 bucks. And speaking of that, the one that Doc's brought that one time, I have almost finished that bottle. It's completely been the fastest going in it's the Land's Selection 12.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now it is $79 at Specs and seems to be downtown
When I
only,
started,
but man.
when I started doing this show with you, my rum experience was from my dad's taste in rum. And my dad liked bottles with ships on them.
Pirates that like to stand.
Sometimes they had a handle. Sometimes they were just plastic. My dad liked rum of all. Now
Did the ship have a captain?
He would have loved this. He would have loved this.
Captain Obvious.
But he liked all rum.
Remember what their slogan was? Put a little captain in you. Like that's almost more politically incorrect than nice ash. And I think, but we haven't really covered this, but nice ash in today's environment,
I love it.
it's okay, right?
Yeah,
I
but
love
yes.
it. Nice ash.
But when you get into
1,000%. Say it.
But
with
it's such a
pride.
nice place. So that's how they do it. They have such a nice place so they can get away with the cool name.
And I've been friends with Ian for a number of years now, and often when we're out smoking cigars together, I will look at him. He's got cigar he's smoking. The ash is maybe an inch longer or something, and I'll say to him, "Hey, nice ash." And at that point, almost as if on cue,
Like magic.
the ash falls on his shirt.
And it falls right there.
Yeah,
Like playing Jenga.
Yeah, notice my shirt's not white, right?
Yeah, right. Smart man.
By the way, this goes so well with the rum.
Well, that was the
You're
other thing.
just smoking the same
I'm
thing.
smoking
It's
the
so
exact
well
same
with the
thing.
rum, that
The other-
Nicaraguan tobacco.
That was the other thing that I wanted to mention is that one of the reasons I got into rums as much as I did is because they are almost universally good with cigars. But at least for any of the rums that I drink on a regular
Yeah, there's
basis.
definitely some pairing you want to do when you have different whiskeys, and especially when you get into Scotch, where it's a little more delicate. Because no one thinks of Kentucky bourbon as being terribly delicate, but when you get into some of the Scotches and stuff, it's a little harder to pair.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to keep pairing. We're going to take a break, and we will be back with more of this rum. I'm hoping for more of this
Yes,
rum.
absolutely.
In our next segment, it's Smoking and Toasting.
Cheers.
We're almost out of this room.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We've been doing a little bit of each. And,
Yes.
and it's turned out to be pretty fun so far. Big thanks to our guests on the program today, Mr. Alan Denny, our good friend, Mr. Albert Cisneros from Smoking Swan,
Who had
and
no
Grego.
idea what he was in for.
Yeah, right.
Zero.
And Grego, who probably did but came anyway. And we appreciate that.
Oh,
We appreciate
man.
that.
Thank you guys so much for the invite. This
we
is
appreciate
fun.
having you here. We'd love to have you back anytime that you can make time for it in your busy broadcast schedule.
Yeah.
Because I know you're on like 14-hour shifts there.
He's literally on the air right
Where
now.
where there's a will, there is a way.
Wait, you're here, but I can still hear you on the radio.
I got out of my car and he was on the radio. He was DJing from his truck.
I remember the first time that ever happened to me. I was doing an afternoon drive, and I needed to be at some station event. So I recorded my last 2 breaks on reel-to-reel tape and had my intern play them. And I remember listening to them in my car going, that dude sucks. How did he get a job?
Isn't that the way it
Yeah,
is?
it's totally the way it
It's
is.
always the way it is.
Yeah,
You hear
always.
yourself, you go, what was I thinking?
And now we listen to him on its specs.
So I'll tell a little radio story that harkens back to our last segment where we were talking a little bit about hangovers and not being hungover because you had, really high quality, high end whiskey. I was working at a radio station a number of years ago in San Antonio. We had our Christmas party, and it was one of those where you're supposed to buy a gag gift, and it was supposed to be like, cost no more than $15 or whatever. So we were all gathered around there. We've been, of course, eating and drinking. And then I opened my gag gift, and the person who drew my name in the Secret Santa or whatever had bought me a bottle of Mad Dog 2020.
Boy.
That is a gag gift because it'll make you gag.
I'd never had it before. Somehow I managed to grow all the way up to adulthood without ever having had Mad Dog 2020. And because we already been drinking, somebody suggested, and we all thought it might be a good idea, that we open the bottle of Mad Dog and pass it around and everybody drink.
What could possibly go wrong?
That produced the single worst hangover I've ever had in my life. And I was wondering if you guys had any good, what would be your worst hangover was from drinking what?
Man, I had an evening. I went to Ovations and I had a Tom Collins, and a buddy of mine met me up there, and he's like, "Oh, you like Tom Collins? You like gin?" I was like, "Sure, I like gin." So he started drinking Tom Collins with me, and then I started drinking. Martinis. And at one point in time, I remember him standing up and walking down the stairs and puking at the bottom of the stairs, and then walking into the bathroom. Then I didn't see him again the rest of the night. Apparently, I called the girl I was dating at the time. And
Nothing like a drunk
I
time.
had to wait outside of the place because she worked at a bar. She had to come pick me up and take me home. But my friend's story is the funniest thing I ever heard. This poor guy apparently wandered around for about 40 minutes looking for his car, which was right across the street in the parking garage. He found his car. He turned it on. He passed out.
So he's in a running car parked, passed out.
What could go wrong?
He vomited. It's all over him.
Ooh.
His car, when he finally wakes up, the sun is beaming down through the split in the levels, and it's cooking him in the car. He finally wakes up in his own puke, and his car has run out of gas. So now he has to walk 2 blocks to get a gas can.
There's vomit on his shirt.
Oh yeah,
Spaghetti.
He looks terrible apparently. And he refills. He puts the gas can worth of gas in his car. He starts it up. He pulls out, and he kind of rolls through the stop sign. And immediately gets pulled over.
Oh.
The police officer looked at him and was like, "Are you okay?" And the guy just gushed the whole story out. And the police officer was like, "You need to get home." But it was a
Wow.
Thank you, officer.
Yes.
How about you, Grego? Any good hangover stories?
I would say rating right up near the top is the one that Ian just told.
Oh, you were the guy.
Did I tell you about my friend Greg?
I actually, in living in Davie, Florida, when I worked on 610 WIOD, the talk station, I worked with a guy named Mike Church, who was also a talk show host. We became buddies. He was also a fellow cigar smoker and a golfer. And so we were bonded like immediately. And he lived in this duplex because radio people don't buy homes, because you never
It
know.
makes no sense.
You could be in today and out tomorrow. Anyway, there was a party down the way from his house that these people, Cookie and her husband, I don't remember, but they had a Remy party.
The fact that her name was Cookie is enough.
A Remy party, and they invited us to come, and I went. And the rule of the party was you did not have an empty glass, and there were Remy bottles downstairs, upstairs, everywhere. And if you weren't drinking, they'd say, get some more Remy. And so, at that time, the next day I didn't get up until 3:00 in the afternoon. And I said, Tammy, my wife, I said, you got to take me to get something to eat. We got in the car. I put my feet on the dashboard, laid the seat all the way back, and I thought I was going to die. Eyes closed. Could not take
An all cognac hangover.
the light.
Wow.
I thought I was going to die. It was awful to get a hamburger down.
Yeah.
All right.
It took me a few
Yeah.
years to really appreciate a really good hangover.
When you say
Oh.
appreciate.
Yeah, well, I mean, you worked for it.
Yeah.
You should learn to appreciate the fruits of your labor.
I think we're doing a little work here today.
That's all right. Everybody take milk thistle and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I have to say that it's not necessarily a hangover story, but I do have one from back in the day when we were at KLOL. I do remember going and doing a Jack Daniels event at a place called City Streets. And me and this friend of mine, we went and did this event, and we showed up, and the Jack Daniels girls showed up. And so we really didn't have a whole lot because, it turns out that people would rather see the Jack Daniels girls than two guys from KLOL.
Really?
I
So
can only imagine.
at the end of the evening, what I remember is waking up the next morning, and then my friend who was the other promo guy called me and he was like, so what happened last night? And I was like, I don't know. Hang on a second. Let me go to the window. Well, my truck is here. So apparently I got home last night and I'm home. And
Don't
that
do
was
this,
it.
Frank.
That was it. That was what we remember.
Be responsible.
I love listening to Terry. I feel like a father towards him because he was such a young kid when he came to me and was my intern at KLOL.
19.
As a matter of fact, I was there. This is history. The first time at a tire warehouse event that Terry walked over to a woman at KLOL at the time. It was all about, and he asked her to show him her
You guys put me up to it.
jewels, and I felt so proud. He's graduated. He's flying. Fly, bird. You're out of the nest.
And you can now move to New Orleans.
I remember seeing your face in the window of that NTV on West Timer as you and Harrison were just laughing, and I was just like, wow.
Look at him go. Look at that kid go. Before we wrap the segment, I just want to mention that
Blue.
Albert went and got us some cigars
Yes.
during the break. What are these? Because they are wonderful.
This is pretty darn
So this is a naked cigar, and actually it's the same premium tobacco that we use for our premium side, which is a box. The only difference is that it doesn't have a cello, it doesn't have a band, it doesn't have a barcode.
right.
And these are just phenomenal.
Is this something we can buy?
Yeah,
This is something you can buy.
I'd buy this
Yeah.
all day and smoke it all day long.
Yes.
Yeah, what do these cost?
Great.
So the cost is going to be about $8-9, somewhere in there. So
Love it.
Who's got it?
That's a humidor stuffer right there.
We'll be getting to the bargain cigars or the good
There's
Best
a-
Buy cigars in one of the next segments. But I have to say,
I mean,
this should be on
There's
the
a
list.
dark
great.
chocolateness to the end of this.
Wonderful.
It's
Absolutely
outrageously
great.
good.
All right, we got to take a break. Drinking news is next, which means Ian breaks out the electric guitar.
The electric guitar.
yes.
In the beginning, I saw the story.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. We are on location at Nice Ash in the Heights in Houston. Grego is here. Our friend Alan Denny is here. And Albert Cisneros with Smoking Swan Cigars is here. We're smoking his naked cigar right now. And it is wonderful. And we're still enjoying the rum. And that's a perfect backdrop because it's time for drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Oh, that's a different chord. I kind of like that.
I put 2 in there.
I like it. Well, Drinking News is a segment on the program, which oddly enough has become the most popular part of the program. If you understand why, I'd love to hear from you. SNT at rfcmedia.com. Drinking News is where we bring you a story from the news. It's not a parody. It's not made up. It's something that actually appeared in a news publication somewhere, and that is often, but not always, about drinking, but is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. So with another sip of this rum,
Cheers.
you know, it seems like flying these days is getting worse and worse. Unless, of course, you run a big radio company and you've fired almost half of your employees so you can afford a private plane. Yes, Bob Pittman of iHeart, I'm looking at you. Seats have gotten, so I knew that joke would work this week with radio plays today. Seats have gotten smaller and less comfortable. There's no leg room. And the passenger in front of you has a little kid that keeps turning around and trying to play peekaboo with you, a game which has no end, by the way. And the only in-flight movie is John Travolta's Battleship Earth.
Also, y'all keep complaining about man spread, but there are things down there. Yeah, I'm just going to point that out. Go ahead.
The miracles of modern aviation. And should you need to answer nature's call in the middle of your flight, it gets even worse. There are very few things in life I hate more than having to use the airplane bathroom. But when you gotta go, you've gotta go. I mean, you probably should have thought about that before you ordered 7 Michelob Ultras to help calm your nerves about flying. Not only have you not been able to catch even the slightest buzz, but you're wondering if beer-flavored water even qualifies as beer, and now you've got no choice but to spend some time in a restroom that looks like it was designed for the stars of Little People, Big World. but hey,
Wow.
at least while you're in there, you don't have to listen to the guy in the seat next to you who keeps telling you in excruciating detail about his thrilling trip to a family reunion and showing you pictures of Uncle Cletus on his phone.
Of solace.
Yeah. But have you ever had anyone bang on the plane restroom door and demand that you hurry the hell up?
I've never experienced that in an airplane.
That's what happened recently to a New Jersey man who was flying home from Mexico through Houston, who was in there long enough that the flight crew became really upset with him.
Not just any Jersey man.
Yeah, right.
A Hasidic Jewish
That's right.
American.
Oh, so you know the story.
I do.
Well, this man...
Hold my beer. This is going to take a little while.
The flight crew became really upset with him, accusing him of monopolizing the plane's lavatory. But as these drinking news stories often do, it gets worse. 20-year-old Yisrael Lieb was sitting in the bathroom of a United Airlines 737, trying to finish his business. When he heard his neighbor, Jacob Sabag, who was flying home with him, banging on the door and saying that the flight crew wanted to know why he was taking so long.
Hey, bro, how are you?
Now, Yisrael, who is an Orthodox Jew and was wearing his religious garb, was forced to admit that he was experiencing constipation, but that everything was all right and he'd be out as quickly as he could. But then another 10 minutes went by, and he was unsuccessful at letting the dogs out, so to speak.
Never trust the fire.
He was interrupted by more banging at the door. And this time, his neighbor had been dragged back to the lavatory with the pilot of the plane,
Oh, man.
who began yelling at him in an extremely loud voice and demanding
Gotta go.
that he exit the bathroom immediately. According to the filed complaint about the incident, Lieb told the pilot through the door that he was okay, he was finishing up, and that he would be out momentarily.
Don't make me turn this plane around.
At this point, according to the complaint, the pilot became visibly enraged, broke the lock on the door, and forced the door to the bathroom open, pulling Lieb out of the bathroom with his pants still around his ankles, exposing his genitalia to his neighbor,
Says Hulk smash.
exposing himself to his neighbor, several flight attendants, and the nearby passengers on the plane. Now, Lieb quickly pulled his pants back to his waist after being allowed to sit his
Very
feet.
interesting in air flight.
According to the complaint. And it says he also injured his head and legs when they smacked into the restroom's door frame. The pilot then pushed the two back to their seats while making threats of getting them arrested and making scathing remarks about their Judaism and how Jews act, according to the complaint. As if only people of Jewish descent are ever in need of kaopectate.
Now you've scared the poo out of me.
Now, obviously, if the statements in this complaint are true, the pilot's a despicable human being and does deserve to be demoted from flying 737s and be put on crop duster duty for a while until he learns to keep his anti-Semitic feelings
Like,
to
why does
himself.
it? But why does it have to go that far? Like, the guy's in the restroom. He's having some issues. He's even explained it to you. There's another restroom.
Right.
You know,
There's usually one at the front and one at the back.
there's two in
737.
the front and two in the back. Right, they're on opposite sides from each other. They're right there.
You know, if it were me, it's embarrassing enough to have to admit to total strangers that you're constipated. Despite the fact that my Uncle Leon is not embarrassed by this at all and will tell anyone who'll listen. But to be dragged out of the bathroom with your pants around your ankles? I can now add this to my list of reasons, and they are legion, of why I only fly United when there are no other airlines available for where I need to go.
That's right.
If this indignity ever happens to you, maybe it would be better to come up with another excuse rather than admitting that you're having trouble releasing the Kraken and that you need some more time. And since it might be difficult to think up a better story right there on the spot, the crack staff here at Drinking News, get it? Crack staff, has come up with some ideas for you. And despite repeated requests from some guy named Lester, who claims to be a mental health professional and keeps emailing me, I'd like to share those with you now in the form of another Drinking News Top 5 list. This would be the top 5 excuses for taking too long in the airplane bathroom that are better than admitting that you're constipated. A little top 5 list.
Is one of them? I got my penis stuck between the seat and the toilet, and then I sat on.
Now, see, I almost said something so political right now, and I stopped.
Can I say
myself.
penis?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can. The top 5 things to say if people are demanding you come out of the airplane restroom. Number 5, I've been in here too long? You should have thought of that before you built an Arby's in the airport food court. Number 4, sorry, I got caught up playing Wordle on my phone. Do you know a 5-letter word for pinches a loaf? Oops, by the way, P-O-O-P. Number 3, the guy seated next to me on the plane kept passing gas, and it actually smells better in here. Number 2, I'm Amber Heard, and I'll be right out. I'm waiting to flush until we fly over Johnny Depp's house. And the number 1 thing to say, if people are demanding that you come out of the airplane restroom, number 1, my wife and I wanted to join the Mile High Club, but I left my Viagra at home.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
Reporting live from a very small airplane in the lavatory in a United 737, where when I walk out, I plan to say what my college roommate always said when he came out of the bathroom. Do not go in there. My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
You wore me out on that one.
That one actually worked pretty well. Cigar Aficionado has released a list of their Best Buy cigars, and they're the Best Buys of 2024. For some reason, I thought this was Cigar Journal, so I may have 2 lists. But let's start with Cigar Aficionado. Their list of the best cigars for under, I think it's under $7. The Gran Habano number 3, it does say Habano twice. Gran Habano number 3, Lunch Break. It's a Petite Corona, so it's a small cigar. It's $6.15. The Aladino Petite Corona at $5.90.
Hard to go wrong with that.
That's a really good cigar, by the way. The Brick House Corona at $6.50.
Hard to
Good
go wrong
cigar.
with Brick House.
Yep.
Good cigar, Brick House.
The Oliva Serie G Special G which is $5.95. It's only about that long. I mean, it's a
I've
very
had
small.
the special G.
So
but I
it's
like
the one
Series
that's a
G.
small Perfecto that's kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fat at the bottom and tapered. The cane Daytona number 4,
Yeah.
$5.79. The Charter Oak Connecticut Shade Rothschild, $6.19. The Flores y Rodriguez 18th anniversary Millefleurs Corona.
That's a lot, but I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I didn't
Never
know
heard of
that
that either.
MILFs had a Corona, but that's a thing, I guess. The Punch Dragonfire, a short one but a good one, at $6.99. The Punch Knucklebuster Shade Robusto
Yeah.
at $5.39. The Bolivar Cofradia Petite Corona, it's a Honduran cigar. The La Flor Dominicana Cameroon Cabinet number 3.
Sorry
Good
to go
one.
with-
Good one.
Yeah.
The
you
Oliva
want the
Connecticut Reserve Petite Corona.
Yep.
The Punch Knucklebuster Shade Gordo, $6.59 for a Gordo-sized cigar. The Punch
Knucklebuster made it on there a
Knucklebuster
couple times.
Shade Stubby, and the Punch Knucklebuster Shade Toro.
Apparently,
No.
just buy a Punch Knucklebuster.
Well,
It's
yeah,
all over the place. On that.
Interesting. Did Punch get over the years get a bad name at some point for the mass production
Yeah,
of their
I
cigars?
I think that they just became like known as one of the sort of mass production type places.
Because I would buy them if I had the confidence that I was buying a decent cigar. I find the other ones I like.
There's a punch that AJ Fernandez makes. That's
I love AJ.
fantastic. Yeah, fantastic.
Everything he does, I love.
So
New
let me see
World
if-
stuff.
So I have the cigar journal list. Let me see if I can journal list, not journalist. Let me see if I can burn through these. Let's just do the top end. At 94 points, this is their list of Best Buy cigars of 2024. The Plasencia Cocheca 151 La Tradicion Toro. At 93 points, AJ Fernandez Enclave Habano Salomon. Perdomo Reserve 10th Anniversary Box Press
Absolutely.
Super
Oh,
Toro
yeah.
Sun-Grown.
Always.
And the Rojas Street Tacos Barbacoa Robusto.
Whoa!
You made the list.
List. We
Nice
made
to
it.
Was this a surprise?
It was a surprise.
Yeah. Well, because this list just came out. Being a 2024 list, very timely.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's April.
We're moving on up.
Good for you, man.
In the 92 point category, the 1502 Ruby Lancero, the Flor de Copan Classic Corona, the Henry Clay Warhawk Toro, another AJ Fernandez blend, the Kinship 3 Tabaqueros Robusto. I am not familiar with that cigar at all. Are you? Have you ever heard of
Nope.
the Kinship?
Never even heard of it.
Perdomo's 20th Anniversary Sun-Grown Churchill, Rocky Patel's Dark Star Robusto. I have not had the Dark Star.
I don't know if I've had that one, but man, they put out a bunch of different
They
ones,
really do.
and they're tasty. All of them.
In fact, Rocky is apparently releasing 20 new cigar lines this afternoon. So I'm joking, but that's about how.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Also on the
Rocky
list,
Patel.
2 other Rockies, the LB1 Robusto, which I've just had. I think I reviewed that recently. That's a good cigar. And the Rocky Patel Edge 20th Anniversary Toro.
Love it.
United Cigars Maduro Toro, and the Vega Fina Classic Supremo L 2024. So,
Wow.
and the list goes on. This is worth looking at if you go to cigarjournal.com.
What do you guys? I'm sure we all have a friend that says, "I only smoke this,"
Yeah.
I only smoke Cubans, or I
or "I only
smoke.
smoke this brand, this cigar," and I think that in some way that's missing the point of
Those
the
are the
hobby.
same.
Well,
Those are the
we've all
same
got
people
favorites.
that only drink Bud Light. You know, those are those people. They're
Yes,
We've all
you're
got
exactly
favorites.
right.
I mean, I'm an AJ Fernandez fanboy, so I would bet that better than 50% of the cigars I smoke are one of his blends from somewhere.
Listen, I love beer, but I don't want to drink the same exact beer every time. I don't want to smoke the same exact cigar. I have absolute go-tos that I keep coming back to. There's quite a few of those, actually.
Well, my 2 favorite things about cigars are discovery, discovering something new that's awesome, and community, which is kind of like what's happening here and what makes this special. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our final segment, but we do have to take a break. Smoking and Toasting is on the air all across America, and check us out on YouTube. We'll be right back. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're on location at Nice Ash, a wonderful cigar lounge in the Heights in Houston,
This
Texas.
is if you're driving through Houston, stop by. This is just north of I-10. It'll
Yep.
be about 3 minutes out of your way if you're driving through Houston.
We were talking in the last segment about people who, kind of find a cigar and smoke sort of the same one all the time. And the fact that most of us here are much more into variety and trying different things. But I will say this, I've always been a fan of this, whether it's music or movies or beer or cigar. I mean, like what you like. Don't let anybody else tell you that your taste is wrong. If you really like, smoking Macanudos and listening to One Direction records, go for it. Make yourself happy. Because it's all about what works for you. And now I will say, me personally, I like trying a lot of different cigars. I think most of us here would say the same thing. But I do have favorites.
I think the point when I actually brought that up about people that I had a good friend who only smoked one cigar, but he made me almost feel badly in a way when I would show up the next time with a different cigar and he would say, "No, I don't smoke," but come on, it's just
it should be no judgment no matter what it is. I mean, if you really, really enjoy
the whole
sweets,
conversation.
smoke 'em.
The whole conversation starter is, "Hey, what are you smoking?"
Yeah.
Right.
How many times has a conversation started from a complete stranger that way? You're
Yes.
sitting at a cigar bar, you're sitting at a lounge, you're out in public somewhere, and someone happens to be smoking a cigar next to where you are.
a very prescient observation.
Yeah, I mean,
very true.
And you walk up, or they walk up, and they're like, "Hey, what are you smoking?" And all of a sudden, you have a conversation going.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to derail this conversation because it's really interesting, but I want to make sure we have time. I want to hear what Ian thinks, and as well as the rest of you, about this barley wine that we are trying.
This
from
barley
New
wine-
Image Brewing. It's the Mizunara.
I have been
Barley
doing research. This barley wine makes me want to curse, but in beautiful, beautiful ways.
Well, cursing is a form of expression.
It is
Right.
so good. I love barley wines anyway. If you accidentally drop this on a table and left something on top of it, they will never come apart.
Oh, I want my cinnamon buns to taste like that.
Yeah.
Right. This is so good. And it's the Mizunara. And that's a Japanese oak that it's aged in.
I will say, this is an almost $50 bottle.
Wow.
That doesn't
Barley wine.
surprise me.
So it's not
With this
cheap.
blend, we are featuring particularly sought after an exotic species of oak called Mizunara, originating from the country of Japan and made famous by the Japanese whiskey Mizunara, and is known for imparting flavors of cinnamon and coconut. As for
I
the
get that.
canvas, we selected 2 blending components of barley wines aged 30 months in Kentucky bourbon and 12 months in port finishes.
Damn.
From Colorado whiskey.
Can I just say
It's
how
outrageously
great
good.
this barley wine is with this cigar? Oh yeah. I mean, this is like
It leaves
a pairing made in heaven.
I love it too because you get those deep, dark date and raisin notes in there, and then the retrohale. After you take a sip, the retrohale is like earthy date and a little bit of bread, almost like a dark rye bread, and then the cigar goes with this so well.
Now,
Ian, if I was a woman, I think you just seduced me. With the way your description was beautiful.
I'm not a woman, and I think you're just about to do something. Ian, if you would, take a moment and go back to the rum after you've got that barley wine on your palate.
Back to rum, back to reality.
Mm-hmm. However did you want?
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
So
Does anyone need more rum to complete
it turns
this
the rum
experiment?
into a little bit of a sugar bomb.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And what's interesting is this particular rum had not been all that sweet to me. Like rums can, sometimes you really taste that sugarcane sweetness. And in this case, it was a little less pronounced. But after going back from the barley wine, you really do pick up on that.
like a raw cane kind of sugar too, not a processed sugar at all, but very raw cane kind of sugar.
Absolutely. So we're almost out of time. I just want to thank you, Albert Cisneros, so much for
Thank you
coming
for
on.
having me.
And we want to have you back and talk more about more of your cigars. And I know you represent a number of companies. We've only scratched the surface on today's show. But Rojas, dude, That's
This naked cigar is amazing.
yeah. This is
amazing.
something you can find, right? At
Yes,
your local
this is
store.
something you can find here locally. Obviously, Rojas is a Texas company. Not that we produce anything in Texas, but our warehouse is in Richardson, Texas. So everything is distributed out of Richardson. So he likes to pride himself as a Texan, even though he's not.
Yeah, I love it.
He likes to say is, I'm not a Texan, but I got here as fast as I could.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And Grego, I've enjoyed listening to you on the radio for a long time, and that's kind of a big deal because there's not much I enjoy listening to on the radio these days.
Trying not to geek out, I remember listening to this guy way back in the day.
Wait a minute, I thought we were the same age.
That voice. That voice.
It's not him talking, it's the rum.
It's particularly fun to drink and smoke with you, so thank you for coming and joining
so
our
much for
little,
this invitation. I had a
round table
wonderful day here.
Well,
This has
good.
been wonderful.
Good. And for those who are in the greater Houston area, you can hear Grego on the spot. And he does probably, I'm just going to say this, I'm a big critic these days of broadcast radio. Grego's one of the few things that I do still enjoy listening to on music radio because he's got something to say, and I love that.
And I've really enjoyed just having him on the show because Grego and I have done so many things over the years. It's been fun to have
There's
you on
one
the show
more,
I'm
buddy.
doing
And
now.
many of
One
them
more.
not-
Look at that.
And many of them not completely legal. So
Details.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole.
well,
Yeah, exactly.
So on the next time we have Grego on the show, we'll have plenty to talk about. It seems to me that that in excluding maybe talk radio, but when you talk about music radio, that personality has just become less and less of a thing. So it is wonderful to still see you representing radio personalities in a music format.
Can I say something? The reason why I'm able to be me on the air is because after all these years in Houston, in a market where I made my way, people know me, and I don't have to be anything other than myself. It's just who I am, and I'm just that guy all day, every day, and that is the blessing of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just go on and be you.
So if we set up a show with you and Outlaw Dave, whiskey, cigars, you're in?
I would love that.
That would be great.
I
fun.
would
So these guys
love
are,
that.
for those who are not familiar with Houston radio, these guys are historically like a little bit rivals, I guess you would say, right?
I called him up the other day, and he said to me, "Am I being punked?" I said, I was sitting in my garage on a Sunday, and I said, "No, dude, I'm smoking a cigar, sitting here thinking about you, and I wanted to congratulate you on your and know what's going on."
Can I just say, it is amazing as far as the two of them go. You know, when I was in high school, listening to the two of them on the radio was a really big deal for me. And to know that Grego is on the spot and that Dave is on the Eagle in the mornings, and we have two of KLOL's finest DJs
And some
on
of
the
only
radio in
remaining
Houston.
personalities.
Amazing.
We failed upwards.
I love it.
Amazing.
And that's been our goal with this show as well. And we scale upwards to show number 427 coming up. Ian, do we know? I haven't even looked. Do we know what's coming up?
Oh,
on our
you should
next
warn me
big
so I
show?
can pull that up.
know,
But
I
yes,
should.
we have some things happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
This will get edited.
There
anyway.
will be
We're over.
There will be drinking. There will be smoking or talking about smoking if we're in the studio.
We will have coming up soon. We're going to have Travis Thompson back on. Now he's with Vino Vera Wines.
Oh,
but
and-
we're going to do a wine and barbecue pairing.
Damn, that sounds good.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
I am down with that.
We got Mark Harrison from La Sigua Guitar Company coming up a couple weeks after that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And then
Will he play the drinking news theme while he's here?
Oh well, we'll have to see because we're going to have to do that. He's in North Carolina, so we're going to have to do that on Zoom.
Okay.
And then in May we have Spirit Box on Cinco de Mayo. We have Spirit Box with Roberto and Fowler, David Fowler coming back in.
Very exciting.
Wow, the two
That
of them
would be good
together?
stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Amazing.
Thank you guys for supporting us here on Smoking and Toasting. And we just wanted to mention that if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the show. It costs you nothing, and it helps us on our inexorable march towards having huge audience on YouTube and getting absolutely zero money back
Absolutely.
from YouTube because we happen to
Because
talk
we
about
talk about these things.
barley wines and cigars.
Yeah.
Alan, thank you for being here. Always such a pleasure to have you. Thank you guys for listening, and we will be back with you next week on whatever radio station you listen to us on, or on YouTube, or your favorite podcast provider. Thank you for enjoying this with us. And as we like to say on the program, cheers, y'all. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.